Good Riddance cross-country side event, you pain. Hello and welcome back. This week I'm reviewing the cross-country side event, the Notorious Pain, that was a pain for actually multiple reasons in my eyes. First, let's start with the event. It was a 3-race championship cross-country, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But the first race was probably the worst circuit of the bunch, just as a pure race circuit. It is the Urban Cross Country Circuit, which is a track that I can't understand how it made this game. So you'll see the 3 championships pop up, one in the Ekblom, one at Urencia, and the one at the Urban Cross Country. Now, let's start with the problem with the Urban Cross Country Circuit, and one, you can't 100% directly fast travel there. You have to drive into the park. So I picked my Ford Rally Raid, as that was my best B-class vehicle, off-road vehicle, which was the limits of the cross country is B-class off-road vehicles. So I had to detune this truck to get it back down into the B-class to be able to run this event. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that, per se, even though I like the truck at mid-A class to run against Drivatars, but you have to do what you have to do to win a championship. So let's start off with the issues of Urban Cross Country Circuit. You can see the trucks lining up at the starting line. Well, first you can see that it is highly skilled, which has been most of the championships lately. And I'll go going through all my settings here. But a little bit about the course. It is urban cross country, meaning both through the city of Guanajuato and off-road. You start off on these little bit of slick metal plates, which, depending on your vehicle, affect your jump. I should say launch. Turn 1 is really tighter than it needs to be, considering its distance from the start-finish line. And this first jump is bad. You saw the vehicle on the left slow up for some reason, and when I took the jump, I kind of planted myself straight down, as if forward momentum doesn't mean anything. That is a problem no matter the weather conditions that I see commonly, whether it's YouTube videos I watch or racing myself, that I see that the gravity does not affect the vehicles right in this race. It seems that it's very easily pulling them down and stopping the momentum. Though that first corner was bad and that first jump was bad, that's nothing compared to what happens here at times. Again, no forward momentum. Almost ended up with a car hat, which is not unusual. For those who do not know, a car hat is where a car lands on top of you and you wear that car like a hat. Again, that first turn tighter than it needs to be. But I discovered the key to that first jump, the least slowing down I get, is when I jump on the far right side of the ramp. And somehow when I land on the slope of the grass. So I'm kind of jumping back across myself a little bit to get the landing spot I need. This part of the cross-country course is fine. I have no issues here. I have no issues with it between the jump and the first and second jumps. But it's just those 2 jumps that really make this a bad circuit. And the fact that you start on metal plates really doesn't help anything. As you can see, both trucks just planted themselves on landing again. Again, into turn 1. The unnecessarily tight turn 1. They should move that flag out maybe another truck width and a half. And this one, I kind of missed my landing point on the jump. I landed in the street, but that's alright. It wasn't so bad of a miss that it was a problem. But those 2 jumps were just awful. Even though I'm not a huge fan of this course as is, like I said, I don't have a problem with the section between the two jumps. I just think the two jumps are too important to the course and are really a toss-up on whether or not physics is going to be correct or not when your trucks land or your vehicles land. And it was just not a good course as it is. Again, bottomed out going towards the start-finish line. And even though I finished first, and I generally have good record at this track, it is not one of my favorite tracks to run. It's just really painful. And those jumps and the bad gravity really affect my outlook on this course. If this was the only issue with this course, this video wouldn't be made. Let's be honest. If this was the only issue with this, I would not be making this video right now. But instead, there's more. A lot more. So we take our Ford F-150 Ford Ranger down to the second race, the Urencia cross-country circuit, which is a circuit that I like. I actually really love this circuit. Again, you have to find the point. Didn't quite get me right place on fast travel, but that's fine. At least I'm not trying to find it in the middle of a park. And this is a course I usually like. I usually am hit or miss here. It's funny, you would think that the success would be a dictator of whether or not I like the course, but no, I do generally like this course, even though my record is up and down here. And just to note, this is a time running it after I completed the event, like the beginning of the video showed, so this is not the time I ran the event and won the championship. That did not get screen captured, and I would not use that footage because I used the rewind a few times and I ran a couple driver tars into the wall. I wouldn't usually do that with human drivers, but with the AI, I'm not so worried about that. So again, this championship in the rain. All three courses are in the rain. Cross-country courses in the rain, that's fine. It's a early evening. It's dusk, so you do have a little bit of the lights, which is okay. Not ideal. Not ideal with the wetness. As you can see me kind of trying to fight with position with a couple vehicles. This one wasn't so bad. I did not have a good run on this race. This one just felt like at times the course was a little more slick than usual. And I don't mean just because of the rain, I mean it just felt extreme. I had almost no traction through a lot of the off-road portion of the course, which doesn't help anything as I'm about to go save it about 3/4 of the way from going around. And then don't mind my bad line here, is I'm all the way to the outside, but that is a function of the no grip. But this race goes along like normal, just having a really hard time. One of the things I don't do is I don't usually look back going into the corners, especially most against drivatars. I don't look back going into the corners, so that's one of the issues I have when I'm taking that turn one. And then again, I get just slide out wide going into that corner. But I don't look back, and that's why I'm going to be hitting cars going into that first corner, is because I really don't see them there. Again, I'm not as worried about the drivatars as I am actual humans racing. And you see, again, I just slide out really wide. Though it did give me decent entry into the last two turns. But it just felt like this course was more slick. The off-road was more slick than it usually is when you have a race, maybe during dry conditions. And I know that the rain would do that, but it just felt a little extreme It felt a little on the extreme end. It didn't feel like just some rain had fallen or a storm had come through, and it felt like trying to control this truck was like driving on ice. As you can see, most of the way around, saved it. But yeah, it was just not a good run for me this race. Still like the course though. Overall, I really do like this course. It's not difficult, but at the same time, it is not an easy course at times. It really depends on if you have your tune right and if you have the right vehicle for it. Well, this being restricted to certain classes, B-class and off-road vehicles, kind of made it a little more difficult, but that's all right. I'll take my 10th or 11th or 12th. My 11th place, I'll take that. That's fine. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't. This one is always different to drive, though. Not going to say I'm mad at this one. I'm going to say it felt like driving on ice, like I've said, but overall, wasn't that bad that it was affected my outlook on the race. So lastly, we go to Ekblom Cross Country, which is the main crux of the problem. Whoever decided on this race really should not be determining events at all. Usually this is a really fun course to drive, and I will show a typical race there at the end. But what is this? What is this? It is storm at night. Lights everywhere, and vision is as difficult as can be. This is not fun. This is not merely a challenge. This is stupid. Going up onto this ramp, I almost shot off the left side of the ramp because I really couldn't see the line going through. It was really difficult to see. Now, luckily, I use the full line. I use the full racing line, but I only do that so I can see the course. I don't usually follow it, per se. But I can't even see that in this race. And it's so difficult to keep control of your vehicle when it feels like you're being blown around, battered around. The grip's not really there. So you see me plowing into every sign out there off the side of the track. Only race limits are make sure you get between the checkpoints. But yeah, this was not good. And then you throw in the blue light, the fog in the temple, and the lights coming out of that final turn. It's just not good. I don't know who came up with this on what is normally, for me, a very, very fun track to race on, especially since I love cross country. This is one of my favorite tracks in this game normally. But this was awful. The vision was bad. Again, you see jumping into the orange light. Don't really see much how you're landing. Don't see much on the way of landing off that ramp. This area right here is about the best vision you'll get anywhere in this race. This was not a good idea. I've read people saying that they've gotten motion sickness from it. I've seen a lot of people say that they have the same complaint about me, and your vision is there's no vision. There's no visibility. And I think these are very valid complaints, and I just think that this event alone, even if you wanted to run it in a storm, run it afternoon, dusk, but don't run it with all the lights. This is kind of a cheeky move I'm about to pull off here. This is not a passing place that you would usually think of. That is not a usual passing spot, but I made it work. But this is just not good. And you see a lot of fog. So it's like driving into a white cloud. Sometimes very limited view of anything. Again, going up the bright orange ramp into the sun. Well, lights that make it look like you're driving into the sun. That landing was a little bit rough. Not really seeing the... being able to see before the jump coming off there. But again, right here, crossing the lake that's in the middle of the course. Really bad vision. Really hard to see what's going on just right in front of you. Couldn't make that attempted dive stick, which is fine. This is one of the pitfalls of this course. But again, I take it outside. This actually felt like it had more traction than the previous race. This race did. But this was just bad with this horrible vision. Horrible, no ability to really see what's going on. It was just not that fun. So in this playthrough, I finished 5th, which this time through did not give me the championship by any amount. But the point is, this was just bad. Looking back on it, it was bad. So now we're going to show a race during the day at the same highly skilled difficulty and just show how much of a difference it is. I mean, nice crisp view of the start-finish area. You're not looking into green and blue lights. Now, even if it was rain, and I really should have tried to make it rain. I don't know if I had that option, but I should have tried to make it a race in the maybe early afternoon rain in the race in the rain. Come up to the bridge. I'm not about to jump off the left-hand side because I don't see it. I intentionally took that line there because I thought it was the best line for me to take at the time. I can see well enough what's in front of me to make clean passes. Well, for the most part. Off-road races do come with a little measure of sliding, so have to excuse that, but you can see, hit passing point, hit decent lines. I have enough grip to go a little outside the normal racing line, cut back under. I mean, this track, night and day difference from the cross-country side event to this just regular race. And it's the same difficulty, it's the same highly skilled, and again, I'm kind of got too much of a good run on a vehicle, and I would try to hold up on a human driver. But the night and day difference is huge. Whoever decided that this track needed to be lit up in the rain with fog just made a really bad choice, and they really shouldn't be making these decisions on whether or not, on what event, what weather conditions, anything. They shouldn't be making any choice for these events. This was such a poorly executed event that it was a real pain, really. And I mean, this week's playlist I thought was kind of weak anyway. I wasn't really a huge fan of it. I did complete it. I got, I believe, 42 points, which as of late is one of my lower point totals for events. And as you see there, hit rewind because I cut that corner way too soon. And then I accidentally run off a car because I didn't want to miss the checkpoint again. But I will finish this event 3rd. In much better conditions, but it was a much more enjoyable race. So, well, I am sorry, that was only lap 2. But again, just the difference is, other than literally being night and day, is night and day. But yeah, that is just my reflection on the cross-country side event and why it was a terrible event to begin with. So, I'm glad this one is done. I haven't looked at this week's events yet, but I'm hoping they're a lot better than this. Because if it's another week of let's not be able to see what's going on, and it's not going to be fun, and no matter what the unlock is, no matter what the car unlocks are, they're not going to be worth the trouble. So, that's just my thought on it. Let me know what you think. I'm just going to let this race finish out. But let me know what you think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you find Forza and other game content enjoyable, as I will definitely be making more. And until then, goodbye.